Hello and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, what I like to do is to create videos that I would have found helpful when I first got out looking for treasure. Today we have an eBay package, and I swear I'm going to stay off of eBay. I swear it. I'm probably not going to stay off of eBay, but I'm going to try. Honestly, I'm going to try. Now, I looked it up right before. This was $22 after shipping. And the reason I grabbed this one, and I grabbed another package too, we'll see, this might end up being 2 videos, depending on what we got here, or just possibly 1 video. I grabbed 2 packages from the same seller, and the reason I did was that they looked pretty good, but honestly, I am expecting nothing but gold fill out of these. But I'm expecting a fair bit of gold fill. And there's always the hope of some karat gold. So let us see what we have here. In this old Rock Auto bag. Okay. There we go. Now, these little keys, these like high school keys, are frequently gold fill. But sometimes, and the reason I like to grab them is sometimes what will happen is you'll have something like this. And this is probably the reason I grabbed this. We'll have a look here. But what will happen with these sometimes is that you'll have the back piece being gold fill, and then this little piece that's on the front here, which I'm not sure, you see how it's not really on there perfect, will end up being karat gold. This looks pretty much like plate, but then this might be gold fill or karat gold. I'm not sure what BP stands for. But the thing about these is that they're often just not marked at all. So this, it looks like plate. But we'll go ahead and test this one. And then possibly we will disassemble it and then test the front of it. This seller looked relatively savvy, but there's a couple things on there that made me think maybe they weren't quite aware of some of this unmarked stuff. So I thought it would make for fun videos, and I figured I'd probably get enough gold fill to make it worth the lowball offer. So we'll set that one aside. I think that's probably the one that I was most curious about in this lot. But yeah, when these things get a little bit older, like this one here, you know, we're looking at the same thing. The little bit on front could be karat gold, whereas the back could be plate or fill. Looks more like plate to me. But if you look real close, you can see that these little bits can end up just being gold. So it's fun to try to figure out if that's the case. Ones like this definitely aren't. At least I don't think they are. None of them that I've seen are. I suppose we can test it. It does have a good feel to it. It does have a good shine to it. But I'm pretty sure Jostens, which is a very good maker, would actually have noted that this was gold if it was gold. Maybe I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, I'm smiling. But yeah, and again, we have kind of the same thing going on here. Oh, it's another one of those BPs. Boy, that is not on there great, is it? Interesting. So that's the same. Is it the same? Not quite. I'm not sure if you can see the difference here in the camera, but when I'm looking at both of these, I'm looking at a situation where I would expect the one on the right to be gold, whereas I'd see the one on the left is probably not. And you see how there's like some high edge wear or some high wear on the one on the right? And it's not really exposing a different base metal. It's only looking more gold-like. And the detail is a little bit better, maybe because of that, on the one on the right. Could just be that the one on the right has more wear, and they're both the same material, but I'm not certain. This one, though, looks like that's maybe silver. Possibly, probably not. But this piece that's stuck to it, you know, maybe we can just pry that right off right now. I don't think there's any harm in doing that. Yeah, in fact, it's not even on there very good. It's barely glued on there at all. Yeah. Just kind of tacked on. That is weird. I've never seen anything quite like that. But that does look like plate on the back. We'll test it. It could be that it's got some lacquer on the back there. But this one looks a lot more like plate than the other one. All right, let's continue through this potentially interesting lot. Port Polk, Louisiana. This will defend. That's just a bit of plate. In fact, I suppose the other thing we can be doing is deploying our magnet here, right? Yeah, so you can tell that's just plate. I'm sure this is the same way. Yep. Okay, what else we have in here? K Jewelers. I've seen a number of these, and they aren't gold. Not that K maybe didn't make them in gold, but they've all been plate that I've seen so far. William Penn Sr. Most of, yeah, K's. Most of the high school ones are not going to be gold. But the University of California, now, 1961, now we're looking a little more likely, except I think you can see in this case. Do you see how it's real dark down in there? Could just be dirt. But it looks like when they punched Freeborn in 61 in there, they got through the gold plate on the outside and down to the base metal, which I think is what's going on with that. That's not to say the emblem might not be gold or gold fill, but I don't think that's the case here. Brass, or yeah, just brass. Newport Township High School. This one's from 55. Now, this one's a little bit better looking. You can see that we didn't get down to a base metal with that engraving. But you see we got some verdigris right there, where the plate has come off, and then the base metal's exposed and it's degrading. President Award. This looks good for gold fill. Maybe even gold. We will test that one. This looks pretty good for gold. Feels pretty good for gold. It's not to say that it might not be gold fill. You can definitely be fooled with a heft feel when it comes to something this small. But I'm seeing a lot of good signs for gold. Not seeing obvious plate. Yeah, we'll test that puppy. And then this looks good for gold fill, or possibly gold. Like dirty. Yeah, see. You wipe this up. That dirt cleans up nice, but not too nice. We've got a bunch of wear up at the top here on the loop, but we're not seeing a different metal come through. All right, with that, why don't we go ahead and, let's see. We are at 5 minutes for this video, so you know what we will do? We're going to be testing this one, that one, and that one. Go ahead and tell me if you want me to disassemble this one. Let me show you something. Like this one I think is gold, this one I think probably isn't. And if you see how sort of shiny and scratchy that is versus this, it's very subtle, but this I think could be gold or gold fill. This I think probably isn't, and I think the emblem probably isn't now that I'm holding it. If we need to test it at some later date, we can. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these, I'm going to put the ones up that I don't think are worth testing. We'll set those aside, and we'll open up the other bag to make this a nice, fun, interesting video. And if this had been something like gold fill, I would probably be more interested in this one. But for right now, I think I'll probably just toss that aside and maybe throw that in when I eventually get down to the XRF machine, and we'll see what might be there. These two are good candidates for being gold, though. So we're going to set those aside. We'll include those with testing, and then we'll open up the other one. Now, I'm not sure if I recall exactly what was in the other one. All I know is that I paid the same for both of them. So it was like $22 after shipping. And there must have been something in here that I thought might be gold, because otherwise I don't think I would have bought it. And at this point, that is pretty much my criteria for these eBay lots. If I think I can get gold for a cheap price, I'll go after it. Gold is just so high that it's really well worth getting little dibs and dabs of gold when you can for not a whole lot of money. Plus, when you've got as many objects as are in these auctions, they're fun, they're interesting, and I don't mind paying a little bit of money for a little bit of entertainment, particularly because I get to share it with you. All right, so what in this auction was I most interested in? Probably this. Shadle EPU. If you've been on my channel for a while and you've been watching these videos, I don't know any other way to explain it, but this looks like plate. It's kind of got a little bit of a rough-ish finish, but that roughish finish almost looks like it's filled in a touch. And man, it's hard because things that aren't plate can also look very, very, very similar. Like this one right here is solid 10 karat. And they look really close, but there's aspects to it that I probably can't really explain on camera that make me suspect that this one isn't gold. We will test it, of course, because that's pretty close to something that I see as being gold. But I'm not holding out hope, if that's a good way to put it. Now, 1960, pretty good year for grabbing little bits of gold. And then, do we have markings on this one? Let's see if I can open this up for you. If things seem a little odd on my videos sometimes, one of the things that I always try to do with my videos is actually not look at the objects off camera. I'm looking through my camera screen to try to give you, the audience, the best possible view of what's going on. Now, I am not able to make out whatever's going on there. So I'm going to use my loop real quick. Yeah, as I suspected. So that is marked 1/20th, like 12K gold fill. So this piece is gold fill. This piece probably is gold fill too, but we'll go ahead and test it. We should be able to test it on the back pretty non-destructively. Okay, so what else is in here? Just some clearly gold plate, pin, Scotland, gold, just plated. In fact, probably also, yeah. Little enamel pin, Construction Inspectors Association, incorporated in 1964. Yeah, nothing but plate there. Oh, that's pretty cool. Some military emblem, maybe. Could be silver. I don't know, probably not. Let's check it with the magnet. So here's a good example where the pin itself responds, but the face doesn't. So this could be silver. I don't know if I could get it properly tested, though, without harming it. So I think I'm just going to call it good on that one. We'll put it in our cool stuff pile. Little... That's interesting. Huh. I don't know what to make of that. Is it like a phoenix, maybe? It's kind of thin. Could be gold. Why don't we just put that in our to test pile? Eagles. Plate. Independent Order of the Foresters. Modern pin that is plate. Oh, a pharmacist pin. Probably plate or fill, but you know what? We'll test it. Looks pretty good. '84. Interesting. I think it's like highly polished brass. Real interesting finish there. It's odd that they would polish the back so much, but you can see where a scratch has gotten through to another metal in there. I think it's probably like polished and lacquered brass. N10, Z, maybe N10. That is worth testing. That's got the real look of potential gold there. All right. And then last but not least, old Freemason 32nd degree. It's kind of looking brassy or gold filly. Yeah, that puppy's gonna be brass. Pretty sure. But while we're testing, we'll go ahead and give it an old scratcheroo. Sometimes they can look a little bit like that and be gold if they're old enough. And this one's got some weirdness here with maybe a repair or something as to how it was put together. Like it was broken, maybe. Which I like. I like it when something is broken and then repaired, because it means somebody cared enough to have it repaired. All right, so with that, let us go ahead and get out our test stone. All right, so if you're wondering sort of why I've done what I've done here, the reason is that I'm scratching in the same spot, and I want to scratch on the same spot quite a bit. And the reason is actually what you see with this piece right here. I scratched that top one. I thought, okay, that might be, but then it kept looking white, so I just had to look at it. And you can see where we immediately uncovered base metal. So that one is just plated. But what that means is that the bottom ones should be the most, we've gotten through the most top layer. So if they're gold fill, theoretically, this might show up as gold because there's going to be a lot of gold that you're taking off there. But if you're scratching on the same spot over and over, by the time you get to the bottom, if it's fill, it should disappear a little more quickly. So what we'll do is we'll start with a little dot on each of these bottom ones. And we'll see. Do they disappear? Now this was such a thin piece of material that I just did one long scratch because one long scratch would do the job. And then you can see real quick sort of what's going on. I might have mixed up this one and this one in my order, but one of these two is gold. The rest is not, as you can see real quick, that they are just all disappearing, which is pretty expected. Honestly, this was a pretty savvy seller from what I saw. So, all right, so the question is, was this one gold or was this one gold? Because I think I mixed those two up potentially. So let me clean this up and we will retest both of them. Okay, so on this one I did the same thing again because I wasn't quite sure where I had sampled from previously. Was actually going to be correct because you see there's a little like almost a break between the top. So I ended up sampling down here, and then this was the first deep scratch, which you can see took off some material, and then that's the second one. And this one already had material taken off of it, so I thought that we would have a good test with that one with just one little dot here. So let's see. Which one of these may continue to exist, if at all. They're both going away, which would indicate, let's see if that one stays. Tell us it's probably gold fill if it stays. Did I really get them mixed up? Just a moment. Aha! Figured it out. One of these pieces is gold. It's this one right here. And none of the rest of it's gold. Maybe gold fill, probably not, considering that it's not marked as such. Well, this one's probably gold fill, but I'm not sure if I'm going to add them to my gold fill. I think I'm just going to put them in my cool stuff pile. This one, though, is at least 10 karat, as you can see here. And then we'll just do one more little test here and see if it's maybe 14. I don't think it would be as high as 18, but I suppose we can just do like this. And we can do both 14 and 18. There we go. Here's 14. Looks like it's holding up. Thinking 18 will eat it though, because it's not holding up as well to that 14 as to the 10 karat. There's 18. And away it goes. Well, folks, so out of all that, we did get some gold. We didn't get completely skunked, which is nice. Let me clean this up and we'll weigh this. Actually, you know what? We're not going to weigh it. We got to check one thing. We got to check to see if this pin is also gold, which I don't think. It's a different color, as you can see there. But you know what? If it is, it'll hold up to our 14 karat gold, because they probably wouldn't make a 10 karat pin on a 14 karat, but I doubt it is. Well, no, it's going away. Yeah, it's going away. Okay, so The question is, how much of the weight of this is the pin and how much is the little emblem? And what does the emblem even mean? I don't know. Let me clean this up real quick and we'll weigh it and we'll see, did we do okay on gold? I think the answer is no. All right, here we are. Moment of truth. 0.46 of 14 karat, maybe 0.25, truth be told, if we're going to be generous with it. What gold, last I checked, was 105 a gram times 0.585, because it's 14 karat, times 0.25 equals 15 bucks in gold for our $40. Now, that's not saying, of course, that these other pins aren't cool and have value. But if we are just after the shiny precious metal gold, we did not do very well on this particular lot. But we had fun, and you know what we did? We learned quite a bit, I think. This was a really, really good lot to look through. When you're looking for unmarked gold, there's a lot of things that, you know, they look pretty close to the unmarked gold. There are aspects like this one's old and repaired. These are things that, you know, might indicate that we're looking at unmarked gold. You know, I suppose, what was it? Right at the beginning of this one, we had this piece. I suppose we can test that real quick too, huh? Okay, so there's 10 karat acid. There's the face of the thing, and there's the backer piece. See how the face is looking pretty good for gold? For 10 karat? And the question is, we took that other little piece, and are they the same material? Because they do not look the same. This piece looks much more like this. Definitely on the back, it looks much more like this. So the question then is, maybe this piece is 10 karat? And why don't we see if we can salvage this? I'm gonna take this piece off too. Okay, so you see how this is holding up really good? Now I've taken this off, and on the back, I've taken a bunch of material from there. You know, it was just glued on. And then done my sort of same job there. So theoretically, this will tell us, did we get a dab more of 10 karat gold? And away it goes. So there's a real good example of where the surface of something, if it's gold fill, and this is definitely going to be gold fill or gold faced in some way, will actually hold up to the test acid. And that's why you have to be careful about where you're sampling from, because the different parts on the same piece can actually test differently. So if you are using the acid, just be aware of all of these things, because there's a lot that could fool you, especially if you're looking for the unmarked gold, like this piece. I mean, we did find a good piece of unmarked gold, and we got down deep enough that this would be occurring if this weren't 14 karat gold. So in the end, I must admit that I would like more gold. Hey, I've got some dragon in me. Would have been nice if this lot had, you know, turned out to have a bunch of gold in it, but it didn't. And what it did do was it had some really, really good examples for us when we're using our test acid, and some really good examples of the things that in some of my other videos end up being gold, but aren't always gold. So with that, I hope that you found this information useful. If you did, hey, please hit that subscribe button, and hit the little like button if you can, and share the video out. This one I'm probably going to title something along the lines of acid testing, a really good learning lot for acid testing, because I think it is handy for that, for unmarked gold. And I'm pleased with the lessons here. One of them is definitely, if you are on eBay Double check who the seller is. If you're trying to get this kind of gold, usually the nature of the seller is very important in your determination as to whether or not your lot is going to have unmarked gold in it. In this case, like I said at the beginning of the video, I expected to find some gold to fill, but not necessarily gold. I think we had probably the perfect outcome from a learning perspective. And with that, I hope you can use this information to go out and find yourself some treasure.
Like this, I've been Thomas.